what's up? Hello, my name is Emma, and today I'm going to be doing my book haul while stretching. I've tried playing around with my book haul format. Over the last year, I did my book haul at the beach, I did my book haul get ready with me while doing my makeup, and a book haul while stretching is something I wanted to do for a really long time because I've been a dancer my entire life. I do pole fitness now, so stretching is a big part of my life. And so I just thought it would be fun and particularly relaxing for myself to stretch while talking about all of the books that I've recently acquired. So if you like to stretch or maybe want to work on your flexibility, feel free to pop a squat and stretch along with me while I talk about some of the books that I got in both February and March. Over the last 2 months, I've only bought 5 of these books, which is really exciting for me. Not only have I just not had the financial freedom to buy books recently in 2019, but I've also just been trying to buy less books. And I've been really happy with the rate that I've been getting books and reading them once I buy them. So I'm in a really great place, but I of course do have a lot of books this month. I have a couple that I bought, a couple that were sent to me by subscribers, a few that I got in a book trade, some that I got from a little free library, and of course some books that I got sent from publishers. So it's a very eclectic haul as well. The first book I bought in February was In an Absent Dream by Shauna McGuire. This is the 4th book in the Wayward Children series. I don't actually want to hold my books the entire time I do a book haul, but I don't know how to display them because you can't see it down here. Okay, we're gonna start with it like this and then we'll see where it goes. The Wayward Children series follows children who are able to access these hidden worlds, and time runs differently there, so they might be there for 2 days in our time and 2 years in their time, or the reverse of that, but they have trouble coping with reality after leaving these worlds, so a lot of them are sent off to this specific house where other children who have had the same experience congregate. I really love the Wayward Children series. I think it just has such a gorgeous writing style and so much incredible world building. It's a diverse story, it's very unique, and I also like that they take place following different characters. So though the whole series is interconnected, taking place in the same world, it does follow different characters at different times. So this is the 4th book in the series. I'm not sure if it's the last one, but I am really excited for it. I'm totally caught up on the series. So In an Absent Dream is just the next one I have to read. And I expect it to be as fantastic as the first 3 books. If you haven't picked up the series yet and you are a fantasy lover, I highly recommend it. Next up, we have The Wicked King by Holly Black, and this is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. So I have actually already read The Wicked King and I really enjoyed it. I listened to it on audiobook and I loved it even more than the first book, but because I just love the black editions of these from Barnes & Noble so much, I just really wanted it to add to my collection. The Folk of the Air series is a super complex YA fantasy series. Holly Black is so incredible. She writes the most amazing fairy stories out there, and I especially love the political arc in the story. So book 2 is even better than book 1 in my opinion. Did I already talk about it in a wrap-up? I'm really not sure. I think I did read it in February, so I will link that wrap-up below if you want to check it out. I really enjoyed it and I'm super excited to have this new edition. Next book on my book haul is The Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. This book does come out April 9th, but it was sent to me by a fellow booktuber / author tuber, Lily Mead. She just saw a copy of it at the American Libraries Association conference and knew that I really wanted to read it, so she literally just picked it up out of the kindness of her heart and sent it to me. That was so sweet of you, Lily. Thank you so much for sending it to me. I will definitely link her channel below, which you should absolutely check out. I don't like this position. Can you see it if I put it back here? I feel like you can't. So the Red Scrolls of Magic is a new series set in the Shadowhunter world. It follows Alec Lightwood and Magnus Vane when they are on vacation together, and it takes place during the time between City of Glass and City of Fallen Angels. The plot of the story is that there is this cult that people believe Magnus started and is the founder of, but Magnus has no memories of starting the cult. So it's basically a story of Alec and Magnus traversing through Europe from Paris to Rome and Prague as well, just trying to piece together the information and clear Magnus's name. I actually read Red Scrolls, so I can tell you a little bit of my thoughts, but I am saving it mostly for my upcoming wrap-up. I really enjoyed Red Scrolls. It like totally brought me back to the exact atmosphere of the Mortal Instruments series, and it was just super fun and silly and lighthearted, but I feel like it also really delved into a lot of the complexities in setting up Alec and Magnus's relationship, which was super enjoyable to watch. It is definitely not my favorite Cassandra Clare novel that I've ever read, but I think people who are fans of Malik, or even just fans of the Mortal Instruments specifically in general, they'll really enjoy it. The next 2 books on my haul were sent to me by Harper Collins, so thank you so much to Harper for sending me a copy of We Set the Dark on Fire by Taylor K. Mayhoff. What I know about We Set the Dark on Fire is that it is a Latinx-inspired fantasy story about a girl whose parents basically faked her identification papers so that she could get into the most prestigious school and live a better life, where she is engaged to now a very wealthy and political man. And so from what I can gather, a resistance group tries to convince the main character to spy on her betrothed and feed them information in order to help the country. The only other thing I know about this book is that it does have some LGBTQ plus representation as well. I believe the main couple in the story is 2 girls, which is really exciting. I have heard this book is so hyped and so many fantasy lovers are really, really enjoying it. So it seems like the great start to a new series that I'm very excited to read. The next book that Harper sent to me is A Question for Holmes by Brittany Cavallero, which is the 4th and final installment in the Charlotte Holmes series. If you haven't heard me talk about the Charlotte Holmes series, you are missing out because it's fantastic. It is the story of the true descendants of Sherlock Holmes and John Watson, as they both end up at the same boarding school together. And in the first installment, they are framed for crimes that mimic the mysteries of the classic Sherlock Holmes stories, but the series just gets bigger and bigger with each book. To give you a rundown on my thoughts on the series, I loved book 1 so deeply. It was incredible. I was swept off my feet. The series just has like some of the most dynamic and well-developed characters out of any YA story I've ever read. I did not like book 2. I give it a pretty low rating. It just did not capture me the way book 1 did. But earlier this year in January, I did read book 3 and I'm all caught up in the series, and I really, really enjoyed it, like almost nearly as much as book 1. So I'm very excited to go into the final installment. I'm not ready to say goodbye to these characters, but I'm definitely excited to see where the story goes. The next 3 books on this haul were sent to me in a book trade that I did with Courtney from Twitter, so thank you so much to Courtney for trading with me. Essentially, Courtney had seen that I was looking for a specific advanced reader copy of a book I really loved, and she had one that she was willing to get rid of, so I showed her what she had, and she was interested in a series that I was giving away, and so I told her she could just have the whole series. Like, I was just so grateful she was sending me this arc, but she actually sent me a few other books in addition as a surprise, which was so generous of her. So thank you so much, Courtney, not only for giving me the book I was looking for, but a few other books that I'm also really excited about. The book that I was actually looking for and had intended on trading with Courtney for was The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. This is the advanced reader copy. If you don't know, an advanced reader copy is essentially a printing of the book before it is published that are typically sent out to bloggers and authors and stuff to create hype for the books. And so I love The Afterlife of Holly Chase so much. I've read it 3 times in the past 2 years. You guys have probably heard me talk about it. And I was always looking for an arc because I just really love collecting the advanced copies of books I love. If by chance you haven't heard me talk about The Afterlife of Holly Chase, it is a sort of modernized, remixed retelling of A Christmas Carol. It follows a girl named Holly Chase who is visited by 3 ghosts on the night before Christmas, and they essentially show her her life to try and get her to change her ways, but she's like, this is fake, this is all a dream, I'm not going to change anything, so she dies the next day. So 5 years later, Holly essentially finds herself as the ghost of Christmas past in this organization called Project Scrooge, where every year they take on a new stereotypical Scrooge and try to get them to change their ways. And so this year it's different because there is a young teenage boy who is the Scrooge, and Holly starts to fall for him. I unapologetically love this story. I will always love it. It is just the perfect Christmas read. It makes me so happy. I've been so obsessed with it for so long, just like here we are, just doing some slits and gushing because I adore the Afterlife of Polly Chase, and I'm so freaking excited that I finally have this arc that I've been looking for since I fell in love with it. The next book that Courtney sent me is an advanced reader copy of Winter Girls by Laurie Halse Anderson, which was such a cool surprise because this is now my oldest arc that I own, as Winter Girls was published in 2009. If you have not heard of Winter Girls, it follows a young teen named Delia who is dealing with an eating disorder, and more recently, one of her childhood friends has just recently died as a result of their eating disorder. So it basically just follows her as she is trying to make it through the world of having this illness and being forced into recovery when she doesn't want to recover, and also being haunted by the ghost of her dead friend. I fell in love with Winter Girls the day I started reading it. I read it a couple of years ago, and it has truly stuck with me since as a really wonderful book about an eating disorder. Laurie Halse Anderson has been open about her own struggles with it, so it is an own voices novel, and the authenticity of this book just vibrates through every moment you're reading. I will say I think some of the content in this book is very graphic, and it could absolutely be triggering to people who are not in the right state of mind to read it. So be aware of that if you want to check it out. I loved this book. I feel like I learned so much from it. It brought me great comfort, and I'm super, super excited to have an advanced copy. And the final book that Courtney sent me was The Beauty That Remains by Ashley Woodfolk. To be frank, I really don't know a lot about The Beauty That Remains, but I've heard some really great reviews, and plus it has a gorgeous cover. What I can grasp from the synopsis is that it follows 3 teens who are all brought together by music, but they all have their own different, I guess, experiences with death and tragedy that are trying to bring them apart. And so like each teen has their own storyline that they're going through. So it sounds like a really interesting story. I love books about grief. I'm pretty sure this book has some LGBT rep, which you know I love. I definitely think it'll be a really good choice for me. I fly through these serious issue contemporaries so quickly, and I think it's one that is really well picked for me. So thank you so much, Courtney, for sending me it. The next 2 books I picked up at this sort of little free library that we have on my college campus. There's just this cart of books outside one of the doors all the time, and people just drop books there all day long. So sometimes I like to scroll through there and see what books they have. The first is The Book of Unknown Americans by Christina Enriquez. This story follows a 15-year-old girl named Maribel who immigrates to the United States with her family from Mexico after she sustains an injury, and the best care for her is in America. Basically, the neighbor's son falls in love with Maribel, and it is about their love story, and I'm assuming, of course, how Maribel's experience as an undocumented immigrant and a Latina woman come into play here as well. It seems really interesting. I talked about this on my Instagram Live when I first got it, and I got a lot of really great feedback that many of you enjoyed it. So it seems like it's going to be a very profound read that I'm excited for. On theme with social justice books, the other book I picked up from the little free library is actually a nonfiction book, but it is Tomorrow Will Be Different: Love, Loss, and the Fight for Trans Equality by Sarah McBride. This is the memoir of a very famous trans activist. Sarah McBride was the first trans woman to speak at a national political convention in 2016, and it is, I guess, just like fragments of her life as an activist for trans equality, transitioning, and also how cancer struck her husband as well and how that interfered with her life. So it just sounds like another really gripping read. I am definitely interested in reading more nonfiction. It's just really hard to get me to read it because I read so much nonfiction for school. But it is definitely in the realm of the nonfiction I would like to read. It's something I would love to learn more about, and I think I would benefit a lot from reading. So I'm really happy I picked this one up. Before I jump back into stretching, the next book I was sent by Scholastic, and it is On a Scale of 1 to 10 by Celine Scott. Being honest, I literally don't remember if I did stretch my slit on this side, but it's my bad side, and I could definitely use another one. On a Scale of 1 to 10 is the story of a girl named Tamar who is hospitalized for her self-harm habits and suicidal tendencies. And it is essentially the story of her finding out that she has borderline personality disorder. I was really hyped to get this book because it is one of the first YA novels I've seen that deals with borderline personality disorder, and also the author herself has the same diagnosis, so there's a lot of authenticity that comes from someone telling their own story that you're not going to get elsewhere. I did actually read On a Scale of 1 to 10. Again, I will talk about that in my upcoming wrap-up, but I unfortunately did not love this book, and I think I gave it like 2 stars. Overall, there were things I was happy with in this book, like the portrayal of mental health issues like super, super accurate and authentic in my opinion, albeit I do think it has the same triggering nature as Winter Girls if you're not prepared for it. And I did like Tamara as a main character, but essentially sometimes it just felt like it was stretching the bounds of reality a little bit too much for fiction in my opinion, to the point where I was just annoyed because it wasn't realistic at all, the amount of things that these teens were getting away with in a psychiatric facility. And also the writing was not the best in my opinion. I really struggled with it at some points. I thought that the dialogue was very weak and there was just so much more room for development that could have been there. And I think that just comes from inexperience because I'm pretty sure this is a debut. So overall, not my favorite book in the world, but I am glad I read it. And if you're like specifically looking for borderline personality disorder, I don't think it's the best book in the world, but I think it might satisfy you for that aspect. Over the last 2 months, I actually ended up getting 2 copies of the same book. One was sent to me by Penguin Teen UK and the other one was a final copy I bought myself. But I am, of course, talking about Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. You have 100% heard me gush about this book if you follow me on Twitter. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you should follow me on Twitter. It's at emmmabooks. But I just adore Daisy Jones and the Six, and I'm going to go into a lovely rant about how fantastic this book is. So Daisy Jones and the Six is essentially a historical fiction novel that takes place in the 1960s and 70s in America, following a songwriter named Daisy Jones and a band called The Six when their record producer puts them together to make them the biggest band in the world. And so this story is essentially told in an oral history, basically pulled from different interviews from each of the characters, explaining how they got together, what happened when they were at their highest peak, and why they broke up. This book is truly one of the most remarkable books I have ever read in my entire life. The audiobook particularly is really incredible because it is a full cast recording, so each character has their own voice. And I just made the book feel even more real than it already does. Like, I literally refuse to believe that this isn't an actual band and they did not exist because they feel so genuine. So yes, again, I will talk more about Daisy Jones in my wrap up, but this is literally one of my new favorite books of all time. And I would highly recommend you pick it up if you haven't already. We're going to take another really quick break as I talk about the next 2 books that Penguin Teen sent to me unsolicited, and they are We Are Okay and Hold Still, both by Nina LaCour. I don't know a ton about the content of We Are Okay. All I can really grasp is that it follows a girl named Marin who runs away from home, essentially. I believe that she is dealing with the loss of someone in her family and experiencing a lot of grief. And her best friend is coming to visit, and sort of everything that she's been going through is coming up and she has to really confront it head on. I do know that it has won the Michael Prince Award for Excellence in Young Adult Literature, which is very impressive. And I've heard so many good things about We Are Okay. Like, I don't think I've ever heard a bad word about this book. Key all the negative comments from the people who didn't like it. And with Hold Still, I also don't know like a ton about this book, but I feel like Nina LaCour's books are the kind of books that I could go into knowing nothing, and I really enjoy. I believe this book also deals with loss, as the main character's best friend has died of suicide, and it basically follows her first year without her. So thank you so much to Penguin Teen for sending me these. These are books that, although I don't know a ton about them, they have been on my radar because Nina LaCour is like such a well-respected and highly accomplished author in the young adult community, and so I'd really like to get a start on her works. Next book I bought in March is The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis. The Female of the Species is a young adult contemporary story that follows 3 characters in a small town as they encounter different issues of rape culture and sexism. I have also already read The Female of the Species. I'll link that wrap up down below. But I also read it a second time this past month because I enjoyed it so much, and because I read it so fast, I like literally devoured it. I really wanted to read it a second time to make sure I fully understood everything. So I read it twice in 2 months now. For my short thoughts on the story, I really enjoyed it. I think it's very unique because it's a contemporary that reads like a mystery thriller. It just carries that atmosphere. But the characters are also very well developed and multifaceted. Like, for young adults, again, similar to the Study in Charlotte series, like, I was thoroughly impressed with how expansive these characters were and how deep we went into their psyche. And I just thought the commentary on all these feminist issues was really poignant and thought-provoking. It was just an all-around fantastic read. Like, if you have not read The Female of the Species yet and you like books that deal with these topics, it is a must read. And along the line of feminist books, I also bought Am I Normal Yet by Holly Bourne. Now, this is a book y'all have been trying to get me to read for years. I swear, in like any video I post, I can very easily get a recommendation for Am I Normal Yet? And I didn't really know much about it until I like really looked it up the day I decided to buy it. It basically follows 3 girls who band together to create this thing called the Spinsters Club, which is the name of the series. And I believe they deal with issues like mental health and sexism. I think this book has OCD and anxiety rep, which y'all know I'm always in for. Because March is International Women's Month, or Women's History Month, it's also known as, I was just really feeling the feminist literature and I wanted to pick up some new ones, but I'm really interested in Am I Normal Yet? I think it is like the perfect book for me. It has so many components that I'm interested in, and I've literally heard nonstop good things about it for years. So I think it'll be good for me. I only bought book 1, so I want to see what I think of it before I buy the rest, but I'm very excited to give it a try. The next 2 books were also sent to me by Harper. Shout out to Harper for sending me a copy of Ice and Shadows by Audrey Coulthurst. This is the sequel to Of Fire and Stars. If you don't know, Of Fire and Stars is a fantasy novel I fell in love with when I read it a few years ago. It is the story of a girl who has to hide her magic as she is betrothed to the prince of a kingdom where magic is forbidden. But when she arrives at the castle, she ends up falling in love with the prince's sister. So like 2 years later, after we get a prequel that I personally did not like very much, we now have a sequel that is coming out this August, and I'm so excited about it. Denna and Mare are probably one of the most memorable YA love stories I think I've ever read, so I'm so excited to dive back in and to learn more about their story and to see where things left off. Like, I'm so excited. I can't wait. One of my most anticipated of the year right here. Harper also sent me another most anticipated of the year, so they've just been so kind to me this month that they sent me Let Me Hear a Rhyme by Tiffany D. Jackson. So this story follows 2 teens whose best friend has recently been killed, and their friend was a very talented musician, but he never released his music into the world. So after he is passed, in order to like keep his legacy alive, they team up with their friend's sister and they start posting his music online, and he becomes like an overnight sensation, and record producers are reaching out and people are really loving his music. But nobody but the 3 of them know that the artist is actually dead. I am so excited for this book. It sounds incredible. I just read a book by Tiffany D. Jackson about a month ago, and I really, really liked it. So I've been excited for Let Me Hear a Rhyme since I heard her talk about it like a year ago, and it just sounds so fun. It's got a beautiful cover, and I think I'm really going to love it. So I'm excited to share my thoughts now that I have a copy. And it comes out in May, so keep your eyes peeled for that. The next book in this haul was sent to me by one of my subscribers named Agne, so thank you so much, Agne, for sending me a copy of City of Bones in Lithuanian. Many of you guys know that I have a very expansive Cassandra Clare collection. I now have City of Bones in, oh my gosh, how many languages? Now 11 different languages of City of Bones, which is incredible. I always feel so grateful when anyone sends me a copy of City of Bones in their native language or from their native country. I just love the fact that my favorite series has been translated into so many different languages and is able to be globally loved. It just makes me really happy, and I feel incredibly blessed to have so many different copies from you guys. So thank you so much, Agne. I really, really appreciated this gift. The next book was also sent to me as a surprise from Penguin Teen. So thank you so much to Penguin for sending me a copy of Frankly in Love by David Yoon. They actually sent me this really cool personalized bound manuscript that says Frankly in Love with Emma on it, which was super, super nice of them. So if you don't know, David Yoon is actually the husband of another very accomplished young adult author named Nicola Yoon, and I believe this is his first novel, if I'm correct. I knew people were really hyped about Frankly in Love, but I didn't know much about it until I got this copy. So from what I can tell, it's about a Korean American boy who is struggling to live up to his parents' expectations when he lives in Southern California. But his parents' main rule has always been to date Asian, which turns out to be a problem because our main character happens to be dating a white girl. So he basically starts dating another limbo, as he refers to Korean Americans. They basically start fake dating so that they can please each other's parents while dating their own respective partner. But I believe this is a fake dating to real dating trope, which I'm really, really excited to see unfold. It just sounds like a really nice contemporary romance that I think is going to be super fluffy and cute and enjoyable. It comes out September 10th if you want to keep it on your radar, but I am very excited now thanks to Penguin Teen. Can you just hear all the congestion that has fallen to my head and is coming out my nose while I'm upside down? So as we've reached my final group of books for this book haul, I'm just going to cool down with some neck and arm stretches and talk about this series that a lovely subscriber sent to me. I didn't mention this when I was talking about it, but when Daisy Jones and the Six came out, I actually went to an event to meet the author, which was super cool. So I got to meet Taylor Jenkins Reid, and that was incredible. But I also got to meet Courtney there, which was really cool because I wasn't expecting to meet any subscribers there, but we got to talking, and it was really fun. So it was so nice meeting you, Courtney, and she sent me the kindest set of books just because we were talking about them and she had really enjoyed them and thinks that I would as well. So she sent me the Crank series by Ellen Hopkins, Crank, Glass, and Fallout. New booktube drinking game. Take a shot every time a book says, I don't exactly know what this book is about in a book haul, because I'm gonna say it again. I don't know exactly what this series is about. I do know that the series deals with drugs, and I believe it takes course over like the lifetime. I read the back of each of these books, so like I might have spoiled myself for some things going in. But I do believe that it deals with drugs and addiction, and I think it follows this girl basically throughout her life or her young adulthood, dealing with addiction to drugs. I have heard fantastic things about Ellen Hopkins' books. I've never read any though, and that's the main reason that Courtney sent them to me, which I'm really grateful for. I have not read a ton of books about addiction, despite it being something that I'm very interested in, and I know that this is a well-revered story about drugs and addiction, so I think it'll be a really good fit for me. I'm very excited to give this series a chance because although I have not read any Ellen Hopkins books yet, I just have a feeling that she's one of those authors I'm going to click really well with and want to read like her entire list of works from. So thank you so much to Courtney for sending me these. I am very confident that I'm going to enjoy them. So that concludes my book haul while stretching. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm not exactly sure how it came out because I was doing like a million things at once, but it was fun for me. I am feeling very relaxed and refreshed, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching. As always, let me know any of your thoughts on any of the books that I've hauled, if you have read them or heard about them, and of course let me know what books you have recently acquired in the last 2 months. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new one. Bye! Oh, why did I think that was gonna work?